Welcome to the new session of Rise Up. Today we are discussing about Nobel Prize 2022. We will be presenting for what this Nobel Prize was given in different areas and uh, what are the background of persons who received it. I will first talk about Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize is awarded in 5 different fields: physics, chemistry, physiology and biology, literature, and peace. Then Nobel Prize was started awarding 1901 as per the will of Alfred Nobel, who is famously known for invention of dynamite. In 1968, Sveriges Riksbank, means Sweden Central Bank, funded the establishment of the prize in economic sciences in the memory of Alfred Nobel, to also be administered by the Nobel Foundation. Nobel Prize worth 10 million Swedish crowns, which is equal to 7.37 crores. Exact. Okay. Now, next slide will be presented by Avinash. Over to you.
So, firstly, the first Nobel Prize we are going to discuss is the Physics Nobel. So, this year's Nobel Prize in Physics rewards research into quantum mechanics. So, what is quantum mechanics? The science that describes the nature on the smallest scale. So, for example, like from studying to what is protons, neutrons, electrons, and when we go deeper into it, like going deeper, like quarks, subquarks, and again deeper, we will reach the most fundamental particles, like neutrinos or quantas, which are like referred as quantas. So the study of these quantas or the most fundamental particles of the universe is known as quantum mechanics. So this year's Nobel Prize in Physics rewards research into a branch in quantum mechanics, which is commonly called quantum entanglement, which we'll discuss in the following slides. So the award winners are a Frenchman, Alain Aspect, American John Clauser, and Austrian Anton Zeilinger. Also, their work should pave the way for a new generation of powerful computers and telecommunication systems that are impossible to break. So these are the mainly two applications of the quantum entanglement, which will go in detail in the next slides. So next slide, please. So now talking about the winners. First one is the Alan Aspect, who is 75 and is updated to University of Paris, Saclay, and École Polytechnique Palacio. He's also from Frenchman. He's also a Frenchman. So next one. The second person is John F. Closer, who's an American, and he's also 79, and he runs his own company in California. So next. And third person is Anton Zeilinger, who is 77. He's attached to the University of Vienna, and he's from Austria. So these three people come from different backgrounds and different countries, and they work together to give to rise a new theory. They explain the new theory of quantum entanglement. And also an interesting fact is that these same three men won the World Prize together in 2010. So it's a World Prize in Physics is awarded, like it's a prize in physics which is awarded by the World Organization of Israel, World Foundation of Israel. It's awarded once in 6 years, and it's also established from 1978 with other six other prizes in regarding agriculture, chemistry, mathematics, medicine, and arts. So these three won the World Prize in 2010 together. So next slide. Yeah. So now, what is quantum entanglement? So it's related to quantum mechanics, like which, as already said, describes the behavior of subatomic particles. It's a field which is opened up in early 20th century, which means early 1900s. So now, next point, it concerns something called entanglement. So now we can get into detail. Now, what is entanglement? So usually, for example, like let's take two particles, like namely light particles or photons, which are basis of quantas. So as we already know that energy travels in small packets, like Planck's quantum theory, like energy doesn't gets physically attached to each other. They are traveling in small packets, like in one by one, like that way. So, but there is an interconnection between them, which are very strongly connected, even though they are very farly apart. So that connection between them is mainly called entanglement, or like what we call quantum entanglement. So the reason behind this connection is that there are, it may be energy between them, like they are sharing a sort of energy between them, or their spin. So as you can see in the picture, there's mainly two particles, and there's a force of attraction, a force of connection between them, which is mainly energy or the spin between them. So that's what is quantum entanglement. And this strange phenomenon is also explained, called as spooky action at a distance, by Albert Einstein. So the two particles here and here, and there's a spooky action between them, like there's something action going on between them from a particular distance. So that's why Einstein described this phenomenon as spooky action at a distance. So next slide, please. Also, this quantum entanglement, the theory was already developed in 1960s by Irish physicist John Stuart Bell. But he couldn't explain what causes this, or he didn't have enough proof for the what is happening between them. He just stated theory. So one can introduce many theories, but even to be accepted, to be the theories that should be accepted must have a solid evidence or solid proof. So it was them, Aspect, Closer, and Zeilinger, who conducted the experiments in this field, and they also uh, show the phenomenon was real and could have practical uses. So it was them who really proved the theory. So for their work, they have been awarded the Nobel Physics Prize in 2022, and they also showed that there had been applications. So the main applications are these two. There are mainly two areas in entanglement research which are garnering a lot of attention today. So one is quantum computers. As you may know, like computer computers mainly use. They are used for mainly solving problems, right? So complex problems. But by breaking the quantum theory, there's a very promise that we will have the ability to solve the more complex problems more easily. There will be a rapid advance in technology for solving problems, which will be easier. And the second one is encryption. All of you might know what encryption is. Many of you have been noted that, for example, taking WhatsApp Messenger, we get in the top we are always written like the messages are end-to-end encrypted. So it's nothing other than securing encoding of information, or mainly privacy. So by exploiting quantum entanglement, breaking, as we have already broken this theory and know what it is, now it is been said that it's impossible for the third party to access on a private communication. So it's very hard to break into a communication. So I think the privacy sector, or privacy part of the technology have been increased by breaking through the entanglement theory. So next slide. Also, as said, the Clauser, one of the founders, said that this is useful for military and banking in secure communication. So he also noted the point that it's mainly for increasing privacy or securing communications. And he also stated an example, like his biggest application was that the Chinese who launched a satellite several years ago, they also used this theory for securing communications over thousands of kilometers. So we can understand what these theories, or what these breakthrough in this field could help us. So these are the main applications in this uh, Nobel, in this quantum entanglement. So this is all about the Nobel Physics Prize in 2022. So we can move on to the medicine, which will be presented by Manoni.
Hi, welcome. Suande Pabo, who got the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2022 for his discoveries concerning the genomes of extinct homins and human evolution. And Suande Pabo, born on 20th April 1955. Suande Pabo is a Swedish genetist, Estonian descent, specializing in the field of evolutionary genetics. And he has worked extensively on the Neanderthal genome. Pabo is known as one of the founders of paleogenetics, a discipline that uses genetics to study early human and other ancient species. In 1997, Papa and colleagues reported their successful sequencing of Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA originating from the specimen found in Foldofor, Goto in the Neander Valley. Humanity has always been intrigued by its origin. Then, where do we come from? And how are we related to those who came before us? Through his pioneer research, Sawande Pabo accomplished something seemingly impossible, sequencing the genome of the Neanderthal, an extinct relative of present-day human. He also made the sensation discovery of a previously unknown homin called Denisova. Importantly, Pabo also found that gene transfer had occurred from these now extinct humans to Homo sapiens following the migration out of Africa around 70,000 years ago. The ancient flow of genes to present-day human has physiological relevance today. For example, affecting how our immune system reacts to infection. Pabo's seminal research gave the rise to an entirely new scientific discipline, paleogenomics, by revealing genetic difference that distinguish all living humans from extinct hominids. His discoveries provide the basis of exploring what makes us a uniquely human. Next slide. Early in his career, Swande Pabo became fascinated by the possibility of utilizing modern genetic method to study the DNA of Neanderthals. However, he soon realized the extreme technical challenges because with the time DNA become chemical modified and degrade into short fragments. After thousands of years, only trace amount of DNA are left, and what remains is massively contaminated with DNA from bacteria and contemporary human. In this first figure, the DNA is localized into two different compartments in the cell. Nuclear DNA harbored most of the genetic information, while the much smaller mitochondrial gene is present in thousands of copies. After death, DNA is degraded over time and ultimately only small amount remain. It also became contaminated with DNA from example bacteria and contemporary human. The mitochondrial genome is small and contains only a fraction of the genetic information in the cell, but it is present in thousands of copies. That increases the chance of success. Pavo managed to sequence a region of mitochondrial DNA from 40,000-year-old piece of bone. Next slide. Pavo extracted DNA from bone specimen from extinct homins. He first obtained a bone fragment from Neanderthal in Germany, the site that gave name to the Neanderthals. And later he used a finger bone from the Denisova cave in Southeast Siberia, the site that gave name to Denisovans. And the second picture, that phylogenetic tree showing the evolution and relationship between Homo sapiens and the extinct homins. The phylogenetic tree also illustrates the gene flow discovered by Pabo. Next slide. Essential discovery Denisova. In 2008, a 40,000-year-old fragment from a finger bone was discovered in the Denisova cave in the southern part of Siberia. The bone contained exceptionally well-preserved DNA, which Pabo's team sequenced. The result caused a sensation. The DNA sequence was unique when compared to all sequences from Neanderthals and present-day human. Pabo had discovered a previously unknown homin, which gave the name Denisova. Comparison with sequence from the contemporary human from different part of the world show that gene flow had also occurred between Denisova and Homo sapiens. The relationship was first seen in the population in Malaysia and other part of the Southeast Asia, where individual carry up to 60% of Denisovas DNA. Next slide. Papa's discoveries have provided important information on how the world was populated at the time when Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa and spread to the rest of the world. Neanderthal lived in the west and Denisovas in the east on the Eurasian continent. Interbreeding occurred when Homo sapiens spread across the continent, leaving traces that remain in our DNA. Next slide. And thank you for listening my presentation to all Homo sapiens in this Zoom meet. Thank you.
So hello everyone. Let's look into the chemistry Nobel Prize winners of 2022. So in this year, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was rewarded to the research in click chemistry, and it was awarded to 3 persons. The first one is Caroline R. Bendosi, second one is Morin Mendel, and the third one is K. Barry Sharpless. So let's get into each of one. So first, I would like to talk about Caroline R. Bendosi. So she is an American chemist. She was born on October 10th, 1966. So tomorrow is her birthday. And she was graduated in chemistry from Harvard University. She completed her PhD in from University of California. And why she got the Nobel Prize this year is for that she introduced bioorthogonal chemistry. So our second scientist is Morten Mendel. So about him, he is a Danish chemist. He was born on 16 January 1956, and he completed his PhD from Technical University of Denmark. And our third scientist is K. Barry Sharpless. So he's also an American chemist. He was born on April 28, 1941, and he completed his PhD from Stanford University. So he had also, he was awarded half of the Nobel Prize in 2001 for his work on Ellery catalyzed oxidation reactions. So let's look into the click chemistry. So basically, click chemistry is like, it simply means snapping molecules together. And it was a concept coined by Barry Sharpless in 20th century, like in 1990s, 2000, that time. And so it basically means molecules snap together fastly and firmly without a long, complicated process. So when we look into this, it's simple as we can simply explain it like when a buckle is clapped together, it sounds like click, and that's how the term came, like click chemistry. And this concept means like when two molecules clap together to form complex molecules. So Barry introduced this concept, and they started working on this. So Barry worked on this in USA. At the same time, Morten Mendel worked on this in the Denmark. So, and they find the similar reaction which is done in this manner. So it is like when you bring an acid and alkaline together, it won't react. So in the presence of copper plus one ion, it will react to form a triazole. So what is the significance of is that you can add you can add branches into acid and alkaline to form complex molecules. And when they found out, they started thinking about using the click chemistry in biological fields. So we can, if we are using this click chemistry in biological fields, it can help in a lot of areas. So this Caroline tried to work on this, and she was working on complex sugar molecules. So there is a molecule which is known as glycogen, which is present on the membrane of the cell. So by tagging aside to the glycogen, we can do more things in this area. So the first thing is that in the biological field, the first thing is that we want to tag aside into this glycogen. So she did it using the bioengineering and all cell culture and all. So she did that. And the second thing to replicate the click chemistry in the biological field is that we want to add alkyne. So in the click chemistry, what Barry and Morton did is that they bring the copper ion to copper ion as catalyst to happen for the reaction, and we can't use copper for the reaction in the cell because copper is a toxic substance, so we can't use that. So what she did that, next slide. What she did that, she combined, she used strained cyclooctane as alkyne. So under specific conditions, she this acide and strained cyclooctane was combined to form triazole conjugate. So how this was known as, like, she also tagged a fluorescent molecule in this acide. So when this was done, the cell membrane was seen in fluorescent color. So in that way, we understand that it was workable in both in the field of biological chemistry. So this is also the same process as we seen in the click chemistry. The difference is that we don't use iron or any of the metal substances in this reaction. So we did this in the absence of the ion. So it is also known as metal-free click chemistry or bioorthogonal chemistry. So in the so this the significance of the click chemistry is that we can use this to generate bigger molecules or complex molecules, and we can make powerful materials. And in the biological field, we can tag a molecule and it can be used to diagnose a disease by tracing it. So and it is also said that it is very useful in the treatments of cancer and other applications. So that's all.
I'm going to talk about Peace Nobel 2022. So this year's Peace Award was awarded to human rights advocate Ales Bialyatsky from Belarus, then the Russian Human Rights Organization Memorial, and the Ukrainian Human Rights Organization Center for Civil Liberties. One individual and two
organizations.
Organizations. I was not getting that word. So about the winners, this is Ales Bialyatsky. Then he was born on 25th September 1962. He has devoted his life to promoting democracy and peaceful development in his home country, Belarus. Then Ales Bialyatsky was one of the initiators of democracy movement that emerged in Belarus in the mid-1980s. And he founded the organization Vyazna in 1996 in response to the controversial constitutional amendments that gave the president directorial powers that triggered widespread demonstrations. Vyazna provided support for the jailed demonstrators and their families. So then about the memorial. Memorial was established in 1987 by human rights activists in the former Soviet Union who wanted to ensure that the victims of the communist regime's oppression would never be forgotten. After the collapse of Soviet Union, Memorial grew became the largest human rights organization in Russia. Memorial is based on the notion that confronting past crimes is essential in preventing new ones. Now, about Center for Civil Liberties. This is logo of Memorial. Then this is logo of Center of Civil Liberties. The Center for Civil Liberties was founded in Kyiv in 2007 for the purpose of advancing human rights and democracy in Ukraine. This Memorial and Center for Civil Liberties are from Russia and Ukraine, like old Soviet Union. But when the civil liberties is founded, Soviet Union is not there. Then the center has taken a stand to strengthen Ukrainian civil society and pressure the authorities to make Ukraine a full-fledged democracy. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Center for Civil Liberties has engaged in efforts to identify and document Russian war crimes against the Ukrainian civilian population. So, next is Literature Nobel 2022. Avinash will be presenting it.
Yeah. So the 2022 Nobel Prize in Literature has been awarded to French author Annie Ernaux for the courage and clinical activity with which she uncovers the roots, entanglements, and collective restraints of the personal memory. So, what is it like? She had the courage to unroot what she experienced personally, like mainly regarding the experience of a normal woman. So she uncovers mainly the difficulties faced by a woman, and my personal opinion is that she is a woman activist who responds to the society through her writing. So we will look into detail into it. So the next slide, please. So Annie was born in 1940, brought up in small town of Yvetot in Normandy, France. So let's talk about her career and works. From her her literary career started with the publication of her first book, Cleaned Out in 1974. And her other major works includes A Woman's Story, A Happening, Girl's Story, Getting Lost. So by these names, you could understand like what would it be her content of her books. So next slide. So themes of her books of Annie Ernaux, like the main theme of the book. Her books talks about the body and sexuality. Here, it may refers to the difficulties faced by women regarding the intimate relationship. Again, social inequality. Again, with like regarding the justice between men and women, and the experience of changing class through education, time, and memory. Here, she talks about the difficulties faced by mainly women through education and past periods, and even in her own memory too. So next. Also, she had the overarching question of how to write these life experiences. Like she, in her works itself, she mentioned that like during the past periods, there were like controversies regarding the men and women equality, right? So she also like embraced herself to write these things and write the reality, not what most of the other writers do. So also, her books have explored how shame is built into female consciousness. Like the mainly, so as per this point, we can understand that how her books might be influential to many millions of people. So and how women censor and judge themselves even in personal spaces such as diary. Like diary means in household, like that is the meaning of diary here. So by these all things we can understand that why she has been awarded Nobel Prize. So She mainly stood for the rights of women, and she mainly responded to the society through her writings. So next, so her awards and recognitions gained by her. Her works overall have received a French language prize and Marguerite Yourcenar Prize in France. In 2014, she was awarded a honorary doctorate by University of Kirby Pointois. Next, next. Her work, The Years, was shortlisted for the Man Booker International Prize. So these are the main points regarding the Literature Nobel Prize 2022. So I invite Rishikesh to conclude the presentation.
I am I'm adding a trivia in this last part. So this is about Ig Nobel. I think some of you have heard about this. The Ig Nobel Prize is a satiric prize awarded annually since 1991 to celebrate 10 unusual or trivial achievements in scientific research. Like it will be funny and like it will be really fun. Its aim is to honor achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think. Like there will be something to think in it also. The Ig Nobels were created in 1991 by Mark Abrahams, editor and co-founder of the Annals of Improbable Research, a former editor-in-chief of the journal Irreproducible Results, who has been master of ceremonies at all award ceremonies. Master of ceremonies means who announces and presents this ceremony. Andrew Game is the only person to win a Ig Nobel and Nobel. So, Andrew Game won an Ig Nobel in 2004, levitating a frog using magnets. It's a little like weird. Game then won a Nobel Prize in Physics in 2010 for his research in graphene. So at that time, this Ig Nobel organization, like this award, they will be surprised by seeing he getting the original Nobel Prize. So the economic Nobel Prize will be announced tomorrow. Thank you.
So if there are any questions, you can ask.
I have one doubt that what is acid and alpine climate change?
So acid is like a nitrogen -3. It's a compound having three negative it's an ion of nitrogen. I think it's like that. I'm not sure. And this alkyne is like it's there in the organic chemistry, which is having so alkane is the compound with compound of hydrogen having single bond. Then alkane is double bond and alkyne is triple bond. So this alkyne means it's a compound having triple bond of carbon.
I have a question. Like, how did this Nobel Prize start? Like, what inspired it to start? And
I think you have heard that story, no? Like he invented dynamite, then people used it for wrong things. Then by that he was sad, and then he moved all his properties for Nobel Prize after his death. It started 6 years after his death.
Who decides the Nobel Prize winners?
There is a bench for that, I think. But anyone who have PhD can nominate persons. Then the bench for Nobel will decide.